Hello and welcome back to another Transformers review. Today we're taking a look at the Titans Return Legends class Gnaw, otherwise known as the Sharkticon. And while this guy might be a little bit small, being a Legends class and all, he's ended up being one of my favorites of the line. But without further ado, let's get into the articulation of the Sharkticon mode. So, getting into the articulation for the Sharkticon mode, the legs, as you can see by the exposed hands, are the arms of robot mode, and so they have the same articulation of a hinge and two ball joints. So you get pretty good range out of them. In fact, they can go back pretty far, so it can almost look like it's running if you can get it balanced. Also, there is a 3mm port underneath the jaw so that you can have it in an aerial pose. I don't have any spare stands at the moment, but this little guy looks pretty good jumping at another figure. No movement in the tail as it's pegged in with a rectangular peg. No movement up here, though you probably wouldn't expect there to be. The arms are a solid piece, however you can rotate the shoulder, but it does break the sculpt. Kind of wish they had just made it circular, but this is accurate. Thankfully, the jaw is both hinged on the bottom as well as the top, so you can get a very, very wide bite. Also, there are two tight master pegs inside of the mouth, which I'm pretty sure is so that they can ride in there, but it's a lot funnier to transform them and peg them in and have him chomping down on a Autobot head. Anyway, here's the size comparison for this mode, and maybe having it the right way around would help. And like I said, not super big. It is only a Legends class, but still fairly bulky given the size. Now, getting into the transformation. Actually, hold that thought. I should probably mention beforehand that this entire face is all translucent green plastic, which means all of this is painted. As you can see from the tab there, as well as the green glow inside. I would recommend being careful with this because translucent plastic is brittle. Also, paint scratches off. Also, that is a slight blemish on mine. Don't really know how this paint got up here, but Hasbro quality, I suppose. Anyway, starting with the transformation, let's unpeg the tail, get that out of the way. You can bring this down or give it a bit, doesn't really matter. Just want to get these out of the way. Fold this down. Get your thumbs in there and rip him in half. Then you're going to want to unpeg these two halves here, which is easier if you start from down here because it unpegs this one up here, and then these ones just going to come apart easily. Then you're going to want to bring the robot legs down, flip out the head, then bring this up into the back, untab these, and bring up into the proper position for the shoulders. Rotate, not the shoulder, the elbow around, facing the right way. Then you're going to want to bring the top of the head onto the backs of the legs. and just fold the arms up. And unfortunately, the arms don't straighten out any further than that, so he always kind of has a broken arm look. And you can just plug the little flail that was his tail into his hand. And there you have Gnaw in his robot mode. Now, before we get into the articulation of robot mode, I just want to say that this figure has a lot of paint. The head is completely painted. The bottom jaw, now the chest is paint. You get a bit of purple here that you wouldn't see in the Sharkticon mode, though it is still visible since it's on the underbelly. And what was the back is now the legs, so you get that detail moved around. You do still get 3mm ports. In fact, you get 2 of them now instead of just 1. Though that's because the middle of the back is just a massive gap and they couldn't exactly fit one here. But point being, you can still put him up on a action base or Tamashii Nation stand or whatever 3mm port stand you have. Also, I never did test it, but I think these are the same size. Actually, let's just test that now. Oh yeah, they are. Nice to know. And yeah, like I was saying, unfortunately the arms are always kind of broken, which it looks okay from the front, but from any sort of angle, looks a little bit on the weird side. Also, unfortunately, the legs are always going to have a slight bend. But getting into the articulation, the head is on a swivel joint, and because of the transformation hinge, can technically look up slightly. That was completely off screen, sorry about that. Very slightly, that is. Honestly, if you have it down all the way, it looks a little bit odd. Jump cut. Yeah, I realized my camera was a bit close, and so I was going up here, so I moved it back. And now we'll continue. The shoulders are on ball joints. You can get out to about 90 degrees and full rotation. The elbows are also on ball joints, though I find that on mine, they kind of get stuck when you try and turn them and end up turning the whole arm instead. Can get all the way up, though I'm pretty sure that's more for the Sharkticon mode. As you can clearly see with the articulation in the robot mode, they made a lot of sacrifices to make that as good as possible. Though, makes sense, since pretty much everybody who buys this is going to be keeping it in that mode. No way swivel. The hips are only on a ball joint, which means they only get a very small amount of rotation. And the knees get about 45 degrees bend, though you can de-transform it to get a deeper bend for posing. And I mean, technically this still turns, but yeah, that's it. Granted, the ball joints in the arms do allow for a decent amount of posability. You don't really get much because the legs are incredibly static. Now, getting into the size comparison for the robot mode. About average height for a Legends class figure. Though, again, fairly bulky. So, in conclusion, Gnaw is a fairly solid figure. Definitely has some sacrifices in the robot mode to make the Sharkticon mode look as good as possible. Not that I'm complaining, since, I mean, who's going to be displaying this guy in robot mode anyway? The little guy does all he needs to for an exceptional update to the original Sharkticon toy, though in a bit of a smaller package. Granted, that does mean he does scale a lot better to deluxe class figures. If you can get your hands on this little guy, I would absolutely recommend it. Granted, I am quite partial to the Sharkticon design. But anyway, that's all for this review. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It helps with the algorithm. And be sure to subscribe for future reviews, as well as watch my backlog. But that's been all for this review. And as always, until next time, happy building.